Hi, so a free processor that can be used both to contain your low end as well as make it more wide and more stereo? Yes please. Exactly that is what this free plugin can do in a very easy way. And I'm talking about Basslane from Tone Projects. So let's go. So you may wonder what's wrong with wide bass in my mix. And on the other hand you may think, well, I always need to make it mono, right? Well, in general the answer is not necessarily. I know it's a bit of an unwritten rule to make the low end on your mix mono, but it really depends whether you have to. It's interesting subject matter which I will not dive further into now, and I'll link 2 very nice videos of some fellow creators on the subject matter which you can check out at your own leisure. However, there are of course also some good reasons to narrow the width of your low end. One of them is if your music is destined for vinyl, then at least it's good to be kind of aware of how much width you have going on below 200 Hz. There can be some, it's not nearly as problematic as one would lead you to believe, but again it's good to be aware and be able to contain it if necessary. And another reason why it might be a good idea to narrow your low end is because a lot of systems will not actually reproduce the low end in stereo. For example, systems at a club, they usually mono the sub to get a more consistent listening experience, even sometimes the whole frequency spectrum. But also home entertainment systems with a single subwoofer may mono your low end. For example, the 2.1, 5.1 or even a Dolby Atmos system may make all the low end mono for that single subwoofer. So if they do that anyway, why then not take control of it in the mix yourself? Now the plugin that I'm talking about in this video can very easily reduce the width of the low end below a certain frequency, but at the same time it can also add some width to the low frequency content without the negative side effects that we just talked about. Now before I dive in deeper, if you like this video or find it useful anywhere along the way of when you watch it, please give it a big thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm so it gets spread to more people. And as always, you can also subscribe to the channel and ring the little bell icon so you know when I post another video. If you want to support the channel even more, you can use the virtual tip jar, which is the super thanks button below the video, or buy anything through the affiliate links in the description to these stores, in which case I will get a small commission without any extra cost to you. But let's quickly get back to Basslane. Now in this Cubase 13 project I have a bass track of my band The Wash, which we recorded in a studio last year. It's called No Silence, and the bass track consists of a DI track and a track recorded through a DBX compressor, and they are both going to a stereo group track over here. Let's listen. Now at the moment this is playing as a pure mono track, which you can see over here. If you look at through balance over here, you see the width in the various frequency areas, and if I play, you see that the width is basically 0. Now for the demo I will make this more stereo by adding a chorus. This is a UAD chorus, Studio D stereo chorus, which makes it sound like this, and on the True Balance plugin you will see again that now there is some stereo width in all frequency areas. Now if we now want to make the very low frequencies in this bass guitar mono, we can use the Basslane plugin, which looks like this. And the idea of these controls here on the left side is that you can define a certain frequency area that the plugin will work on. And then with the width control, you can work on that frequency area to make it more narrow or leave it as is. So the mode over here can be classic or flat, where classic is the algorithm from the original Basslane plugin, and that adds a slight low frequency boost to maintain the energy of a band signal, and flat offers a more precise algorithm with a flat frequency response, but let's leave it to classic. This is the slope of the filter that defines which area of the low frequencies we are working on, and you can set that area by using this knob. Everything below the set frequency will be affected by the plugin. And if you leave the width at 100%, it will not be affected. But if you turn it down, the stereo width of that frequency area will be narrowed until it's totally mono at 0%. If you want, you can also compensate the gain if narrowing the width has also lowered the amount of low frequencies that you have in your signal. Well, let's first just start with the default. We will affect the frequencies 400 and below, but at the moment we're not narrowing them. So the plugin will basically do nothing at this moment. And you can also check that by clicking the pre-processing button over here, which basically means that you're checking the signal before it is affected by the plugin. So it's kind of a bypass button. And you can also check the delta, which monitors the difference between the processed and the original signal. And as you can hear, it's silent, so the original signal is not affected with these settings. It's also possible to just listen to the mid and the side signal. And you can also listen to just a filtered signal with this solo button, meaning that at the moment we will hear frequencies 400 and below. Now you may also have noticed this nice display over here, where the middle thick line shows the average signal and the smaller blue lines show some of the peaks that are occurring on the left and right sides. And as you can see, the average white line moves quite a lot in this unprocessed signal. So let's narrow the width a bit and see how that sounds. Now I think when you listen to this, it gives a much more focused low end without losing all of the stereo effects of this chorus. Just listen to where you feel the signal is coming from, then you'll see when the processing is engaged, it's coming much more from the middle. Yeah, that feels much more stable to me. And like I said, you can also just listen to the filtered area, so all the frequencies below 540 Hz, and see how the width of that part of the frequency spectrum is fully monoed by setting it to 0%. Let's start by 100%. Fully in the middle. Now at the same time, this plugin can also generate more width for you, but it does not do this in the low frequencies that we just monoed, but it basically takes the frequency range of the signal that we said we wanted to process from 0 to 540 Hz at the moment, and it generates harmonic overtones in higher frequencies that it puts left and right in the stereo spectrum, so that you basically still get a wider impression of this bass guitar, even though we just monoed the very low frequencies. Let's have a listen. And this is best demonstrated by just removing the chorus completely, which makes the bass totally mono again, and then I'll show you that you can still widen it by adding these side harmonics. Now, because it adds harmonics, the signal also gets louder, but you can definitely hear that bass guitar in the sides now as well, whereas previously it's just a mono track. So you can also use this effect separately to make a mono bass signal more stereo, in which case you wouldn't have to do any narrowing at all, because the basic track is mono already. Now, all of this can of course also be done with a combination of different plugins. For example, with a mid-side EQ, you could take out the sides below a certain frequency. And as long as you use mild slopes, like in this plugin, you can accomplish the same thing without too much of a phase problem on the cutoff frequency. Check the other videos that I linked to know what that's all about. And for generating those harmonics on the side, you can also use another plugin for that. But I think this plugin makes it very convenient to have both options in one very simple plugin that you can use to narrow and widen your low frequency content at the same time. Now check out the link to Tone Project and this plugin specifically in the description. It's free, so you can just use it to your heart's content. And if you want to know some more about processing low end in the mix, I have a separate video on how to separate bass guitar and kick with an EQ over here. So have a look at that, enjoy, and see you soon.